Hi, I'm Pat Moore. I'm here to show you today how to lay out and cut a compound angle with a bird's mouth. So in front of me here I have a piece of off-cut oak, but we're going to pretend it's a rafter or perhaps even a purlin. So the first thing that we find out is the alignment cuts and your plumb cuts of your piece against your other piece. So if this is your jack rafter, it'll be your jack rafter against your hip or valley. So I'm going to bring a close-up to show you what's happening. Okay, so here we have my alignment cut and my plumb cut angles. I'm going to go ahead and lay out for my alignment cut here. Okay. Where that line meets the irises, that's where I put my plumb cut. This side and on that side. Okay. So as you can see, we have a compound angle here. Okay. The next step to lay out for your bird's mouth is that you're going to take a measurement of the plumb line on your hip or your valley, and we're going to plug it in here. So when you take your level and you mark plumb on your hip, take that measurement of that line, and so in this case, we're just going to say it's 6. I measured on my hip, it's 6. I'm going to come here and put that distance on that line, 6. I got a point here. Okay, that's essentially the iris of my hip, the underside of my hip, going through this face. So to lay out for the bird's mouth, you're going to just use a framing square. And what you're going to do is it's the 4 hits of the square. That's the method. So you're going to take that point with your square and bring it up to that iris. Okay, so that's your first number 1 hit. Now you have this point here. Okay, the second is you're going to take square off of your alignment cut through that point. Okay, like that. The third is where this line intersects your alignment cut, right there. You're going to bring that point square across, back to this face. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, and your fourth is you're going to take your square and you're going to put the corner of your square here and put the tongue or the blade at that point here. So like so. And the fourth of the square is this one right here. Okay, that's this line. That's your bird's mouth angle. So that's the underside of my hip. So now that I have that laid out, I can go ahead and use my alignment angle and put it there on the underside of my piece. Okay. Let me flip this around. There's my alignment angle, and I put it here. Okay, like so. Now we have the bird's mouth. That's the underside of my rafter, and then this is the underside of my hip. Once I have that laid out, I can go ahead and take this angle in here, the bird's mouth angle, with my T-bevel, and transfer it over to this side, on this face. Okay. So now that the rafter's upside down, but here's your alignment, your plumb cut with your bird's mouth, and then your alignment going back around to your bird's mouth, your plumb cut, and then back on top of your rafter with your alignment. And that's what it forms. So when I connect this point to the point here, it will be the same angle as my alignment cut. Okay. So now that I want to go and, once you have that marked out, I want to cut this. The best way to cut this with your bird's mouth like that, you're going to take your plumb angle. And you're going to transfer it over to this point here where your bird's mouth comes down to that iris. And you're going to make a line here. Well, I'm running out of timber there, but that's okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So here where the bottom of my bird's mouth meets this iris, I take my plumb angle and bring it to that point. Okay, giving me essentially a parallel. And also, I'm going to use my alignment angle. I'm going to transfer it up over here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this angle with my circular saw. Okay. And then I'm going to come square off of this face that's going to get cut through cutting my bird's mouth. Okay. Now when you go to cut a compound angle on with your circular saw, you just can't set. You have to set your saw to a very specific angle. Okay. You just can't take this angle and put it on your circular saw and cut following that line. It's not going to work because it's a compound angle. It would work if it's 90 degrees, but since that's on an angle as well, we'll have to find out the angle to put for our circular saw to cut this. So the way to do that is we're going to take the plumb cut where this line meets this iris. We're going to take that point and bring this up onto this iris here. Okay, like so. Yes, that's my first square. Again, I'm going to repeat the process where I'm going to take a square off of my alignment cut through that point. Okay, there. Now with a compass, I'm going to take this distance and I'm going to bring it down. Okay. So I have 4.5. Measure 4.5 there. Make a mark. And it's very close to this last line. It's very close to there. Where that mark is, I'm going to take that point and reconnect it with the point down here. Okay? And that's going to give me the angle for my circular saw. Alright? So this new angle here is the angle I'm going to take here. Put that on my circular saw to cut this compound angle. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to set my T-bevel to that angle. Okay, now that the saw is set to the proper angle and depth, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that first cut in front of the bird's mouth. Okay? Now that that cut's made, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the actual alignment cut and plumb cut. Okay, now we're ready to cut the actual bird's mouth, okay? Here is the bird's mouth angle, and then our plumb cut, and then our alignment cut underneath. This is the bottom of our rafter. I set the square, or I set my saw to square the bed and the blade, and I'm going to run the bed of my saw against this cut, following this arris, okay? And that's the bird's mouth. I set the depth of my saw to the length of my bird's mouth. Once that's ready to go, then I'm ready to cut. Well, now that the compound angle is cut along with its bird mouth, the best way to verify what you've did is correct is by taking your square and checking inside here to see if that's square. That's pretty close. It's a hair out. Okay. You're looking right there as well, perfect. So when you know it's square inside, you know you've done it right. So this now terminates the little lesson of how to lay out and cut a compound angle with a bird's mouth using only your framing square to lay out for your bird's mouth with the 4 hits of the square. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and please share it far and wide. There's a lot to know and a lot to see. This is a very basic introduction of the complexities that's possible with wood and framing. I encourage you to learn as much as you can.